Hello there and welcome to Agri SA Congress Week. Today we are building up towards the Agri SA Congress, which will take place on the 14th and 15th of October this year. Well, today we are joined by Janse Rabie. He is the head of natural resources here at Agri SA for that Center of Excellence. Janse, welcome.
Thank you, Ayanda. Nice being here. Nice speaking to you today.
We appreciate you today. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you please just elaborate on what have been the highlights and lowlights of the natural resource policy in Agri SA for this year?
Ayanda, it's been a particularly busy year despite COVID-19 in the natural resources policy space. I want to highlight a couple of things. There have been many, but I'd highlight a few of those. One of the most important things that have happened in the policy space is the consolidation and strengthening of our relationships with government in particular, and particularly the Department of Water and Sanitation and the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment. We've also broadened our circle of influence with other stakeholders, and I think that's been very important and very gladdening from the Natural Resources Centre of Excellence point of view. We've been very and particularly involved in the policy space, and there have been numerous policies and documents that we've been involved with. Part of the main theme for Agri SA's Congress 2021 is the involvement of our Ministers of Environmental Affairs and also the Deputy Chairperson of the Presidential Climate Change Coordinating Commission, speaking specifically about climate change, which is becoming a very topical issue, and specifically in this year is going to be a very topical issue for agriculture and for the country as a whole. I think the second highlight for the year, for me in particular, was the full inclusion of the Risk and Disaster Management Centre or unit within the Natural Resources Centre of Excellence. I think this unit has done extremely well in the creation of a foundation, the tax exemption certificates and status that we have to offer for people that are willing to contribute to the Agri SA disaster funds, and also the excellent work that has been done with respect to natural disasters such as flooding, drought, pests, and so forth. So for that, I think the work of Andrea Kampfer and the colleagues at Agri SA is certainly to be commended and has been a highlight for our Natural Resources Centre of Excellence. If I can highlight another, or point out another highlight for the year was the engagements that we had with the Minister and the Ministry of Water and Sanitation. I think one of the biggest points that we sought to brought across to a minister on agriculture's water use in South Africa as a whole has been this notion that we need to divorce issues about water from the issues on land. Agri SA stands by its principle and mandated position that water belongs to all people in South Africa. And bringing that message across to government is a very important point and divorces this issue of land and all the emotional, contentious issues about land from the water space. And we sought to bring that across to the minister, and I think we've succeeded in doing so. So that's been a significant highlight for our Natural Resources Centre of Excellence.
Now, that's great to hear the work that you guys are already doing in strengthening natural resources here in the agricultural space. We also talk about water pollution and how it always remains a concern in the country. How did you guys play a part in taking part in tackling that issue?
Yes, indeed. The quality and deteriorating quality of South Africa's water resources is a major concern. It's something that's growing in it being a topic, and it's an accelerating concern altogether. The figures about water resource quality in South Africa are staggering. We know that of our main rivers, the ecological condition and deterioration of these main rivers have increased fivefold. That means 500% in water resources in major rivers that have lost their ecological function. We know that we've lost 50% of our wetlands. These are major figures and things that make a person very concerned for the agricultural sector in particular. One of the main worries and concerns in the agricultural space, and in particular over the past 12 months, is the lack of urgency that we've seen from many role players, and it has to be said that the Department of Water and Sanitation is also included in that. We've been asking for a number of years for reports on the quality of water in South Africa. These have been available in the past through what are known as the green and blue drop reports from the Department of Water and Sanitation, and they've simply not been forthcoming. So how do we respond to that? we simply can't go to the courts every single time that we are informed of a pollution incident or deteriorating water quality. And we've taken a very proactive approach in this, in formulating a strategy which says that we need to get all the information available, involve all stakeholders, role players, government, private sector, everybody involved in water resource management in South Africa, and hold the responsible authorities and parties to account. One of the highlights also for the year was our involvement, and it's the third year that we've been involved with the Agri initiative, which was started by our commodity organizations, particularly Raisins SA and SA Table Grape industry, together with Agri Northern Cape and Agri SA, to fund the Agri initiative, which makes use of accredited laboratory-tested analysis of water that shows exactly and pinpoints exactly where pollution sources are, and then bringing all stakeholders to the table and confronting them with the information in order to seek change in behavior and addressing the issue and making sure that the water resource quality and deterioration thereof is addressed as soon as possible. And we've had phenomenal success with that. The big point with it too for Agri is this is a proven methodology that really works and can be duplicated elsewhere in the country, and we certainly hope that that will happen from other commodity organizations in other parts of the country where water resource quality and pollution are very topical and obviously, as I said, worrying for the agricultural sector.
Janse, what about climate change? How does that affect agriculture as well?
Yes, and where we weigh in on that, climate change has become a very topical issue. The World Economic Forum's Global Risk Report that was recently brought out for 2021, as before, has pointed out that climate action failure ranks as the second greatest global risk internationally. As far as likelihood, together with severe weather events, and then deteriorating environmental resources, those rank as the top three risks as far as likelihood is concerned. Interestingly, as far as impact is concerned, climate action failure sits just above weapons of mass destruction. To give you an idea of what the implication is or implications are as far as climate action failure is concerned in global terms. We know that sub-Saharan Africa stands to be more severely and disproportionately affected by especially rising temperatures. So it's going to get hotter sooner in sub-Saharan Africa than it's going to happen elsewhere in the world. Given our already stressed water resources, this is a major concern. Climate change is a highly topical issue, but also a highly policy-driven space. So we have the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and COP26, which is coming up now in November in Glasgow. And then in South Africa, in the domestic sense, we also have the Draft Climate Change Bill. We have nationally determined contributions. We have climate change response strategies. So a whole lot of policy work being done in the climate change space in particular. The agricultural sector needs to play a much greater role with respect to climate change and our involvement and our inclusion as far as the consultations are concerned, not only in COP26, but also leading up to all the plans and actions that are being undertaken by our government at the moment. Agriculture's role simply cannot be underestimated. Facts and figures point that in South Africa, we have a particularly successful contribution, if I can call it that, in addressing climate change. In South Africa, where in the 1980s, the carbon footprint of the agricultural sector was 8% of our South Africa's total carbon footprint. That's declined to 4%. So it's a good news story and something that makes that government should pay attention to what agriculture has to contribute in climate change space in particular. Being armed with the correct facts and figures and contextualizing the position of agriculture in addressing climate change, not only from a mitigation point of view, but also from an adaptation point of view is critical. I think that's also why we have at Congress 2021, Minister Barbara Creecy, I've mentioned her before, coming to address our Congress on climate change, and also Mr. Valimusa, who's the Deputy Chairperson of the Presidential Climate Change Commission, which emphasizes and stresses why government at least is taking heed and taking notice of agriculture's contributions and its efforts and the work being done in the climate change space. I think it's also important that a person realizes that this has an international dimension. And leading into COP26, we'd certainly want to see our government take a more proactive stance in realizing the promises of international public finance, which has been promised to the tune of $100 billion per year as from 2021. We need to make sure that we tap into those resources and get involved and make sure that we pull our part in contributing to addressing climate change as much as possible.
Oh, thank you so much, Janse. In closing our conversation, and we've seen it's been a rough 2020 already, 2021 as well, despite COVID and the national regulations that continue to change as well. We've seen that the Natural Resource Center of Excellence at Agri SA was actually very busy and very productive. Can you tell us more about your role there?
Yes, I think we've certainly tried to strengthen and bolster our role, and we have a lot of people that contribute to that, and that's something that I think we need to say thank you to the right people at the right times as well. Not only have we got a very strong membership base and affiliated organizations that assist and hold our hands and strengthen our hands in what we do, we also have excellent interactions with other stakeholders and other NGOs that operate in the same space as us. And I think this is very important for us, is that we're much closer to one another than what we sometimes think, especially on natural resources issues challenging the agricultural sector in South Africa at the moment. We've been blessed with a number of people from the agricultural sector that have put up their hands and really said, send me, when it comes to addressing and assisting and contributing not only to the agricultural sector as such, but I think global and national issues on matters affecting the environment in South Africa. So we've been very fortunate as far as that is concerned too. I also have to say that we have an excellent committee of persons that steer us and guide our positions and mandated policy positions on issues affecting agriculture and issues affecting the natural environment and our governance there of globally. So in the past, and they deserve a word of mention, is Wayman Kritzinger, Gordon Swart and Greg Smith, who've now left us, and also a special word of thanks to my committee members, Willem Symington, Daan van der Merwe, Hannes de Wet, and Hope Shikutsia, together with Andrea Kamfer and Christy van der Rede, who've made it a joy and a pleasure and a place where we can, on a daily basis, affect lives and make a difference.
Janse, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ayanda.
Well, that was it for today's session. Something definitely to look forward to in our Agri SA Congress taking place on the 14th and 15th of October. Please do not forget to register. Registration information will be available on the Agri SA website as well as the Agri SA social media platforms. Well, that is it for today. See you there.